Transparency concerns continue over billions of dollars in opioid settlement money going to states across the country to fight the opioid epidemic. It's been 3 years since that deal was struck, and Spotlight on America is finding many states still are not reporting publicly exactly how the money is being spent.
Do you need any Narcan?
From funding harm reduction services in Michigan, like the distribution of the overdose reversal drug naloxone, to funding law enforcement in Louisiana, billions of dollars are going to a wide variety of purposes nationwide that are supposed to fight the opioid epidemic. But while more states are promising to report their spending, 3 years into the process, it's still difficult in many cases to find out exactly who is getting the money, how much, and for what. Has this money helped yet?
It's hard to say because of that lack of transparency.
Opioid Policy Institute Executive Director Jonathan Stoltman is frustrated by the lack of transparency and accountability, especially since more than 100,000 people have continued to die of overdoses every year since the settlement was reached in 2021.
We're wasting time. We know that people are dying from this every single day.
Families who've lost loved ones to substance abuse march on Washington every year for the National Trail of Truth, demanding more resources for treatment and recovery. And now they've added calls for more accountability for opioid spending.
It is on the deaths of our kids that these funds were acquired.
Alexis Plus founded Truth Farm to help fight the opioid epidemic after her son Jeff died of an overdose in 2014. She is frustrated by the lack of progress.
They can't say the funds aren't there anymore. The funds are there. We need to do this at a much quicker pace than we've been doing it. All of the lives that we're losing were people who mattered.
I think accountability here is essential.
New York Congressman Paul Tonko wants to see more federal oversight. He is among a group of Democratic Congress members who sent this letter urging the Biden administration to closely track opioid settlement fund spending to ensure populations in need of additional support receive it. Why is it so important for there to be oversight and transparency on where these dollars are going?
We want to make certain that there's no waste.
Tonko says it's imperative to know where settlement money is going to help coordinate billions in federal dollars also being spent to battle the epidemic.
I don't want to hear that they've been harbored off somewhere and sitting in a state coffer when you have people who are in need of treatment on demand.
I do share the concern.
Even Dr. Raul Gupta, head of the National Drug Control Policy Office, told Spotlight on America he believes more needs to be done to monitor settlement spending.
We know what works. That's where the funding must go, to policies and practices that work.
But Gupta wrote back to lawmakers saying he doesn't have authority from Congress to require states to publicly report. So should the federal government tie some of the grant dollars that it gives to states to reporting on the settlement funding? Do we need to pass a new law?
We may. We're talking about making certain that there is the essential oversight that's required.
The settlement agreement calls for 85% of the money to be spent on evidence-based solutions like treatment, prevention, harm reduction, and education. But for now, with no reporting requirements, actually doing it is on the honor system.
If they were intending to spend all of those dollars in the correct way, why wouldn't they want to be transparent?
State and local governments are expected to get nearly $60 billion in opioid settlement money over the next 15 years. We'll keep pushing for more transparency. For Spotlight on America, I'm Angie Moreski.